Right, today's recipe, homemade hobnobs. Come on, you know you want to bake these. Right, so we're going to make homemade hobnobs. This recipe is one of my favourites. I absolutely love these. I developed this recipe and created it for the Westmoreland group, you know, the really fancy service stations on the M6 and the M5. And they've been selling them for years and years and years. So they absolutely work by the truckload down there. They bake tons. So first things first, let's get our butter into a pan and get it melting. So it's kind of two-stage, this recipe. You need to make the biscuit portions and then we're going to rest them in the fridge. They make a much better biscuit if you rest them. Okay, so butter in. Let's just scrape all this out. Make sure we don't miss any. This recipe also works really well as a freezing. You can freeze it into portions and just get out whatever you need. Ooh.
Just take the questions, please.
Hey? Just take the questions. Have I stolen your question?
Stop answering questions within your statement.
Okay. Right, so butter in, that's going to melt gently. We're going to add our golden sugar. So, and then we are going to add our golden syrup. Okay? So a decent tablespoon of golden syrup. There's something mesmerizing about golden syrup. I don't know what it is. I know. I used to have golden syrup on toast as a kid.
Did you? You know what my mum puts it on?
What?
Yorkshire puddings.
Yeah. I'd rather have gravy. And then you want a tablespoon of water. Okay? And all we're going to do is we're going to boil that up and create like this, almost kind of think a bit flapjacky really. It's creating this liquid that will bind our oats, our flour, and our bicarb. And the reason why we add a bit of bicarb is it means that our cookie or our biscuit will spread a little bit. Now, for all of you out in America that watch, and I know there's lots of you out there, I'm not sure you're going to know what a hobnob is, are they?
Got a British biscuit.
It's a very British biscuit. Now, a biscuit to you is not a biscuit to us. A biscuit to us is a cookie to you, all right? So these are very much traditional sort of, I don't know, they're just British these are the biscuits, these are the dunkers, the ones that you can dunk into a cup of tea or coffee. They hold their own, yeah. What was it Peter Gay said? They were like the SAS of biscuits, like the Royal Marine biscuit. Right, let's just turn that up. They're robust, but they're so gratifying because of the golden syrup But what we're going to do is dip them half in dark chocolate, which for me takes them from one level to the next. And that's what this book is all about. And to be honest, like we've just launched the book at a food festival and everyone's been going to me, 100 delicious recipes that change the way you cook. What's that mean? And it's like, oh, I don't know, actually. It sounded really good. But actually, we're changing the way that you cook because we're making you think about new flavor profiles and you know, creating a really strong canvas of a recipe to allow you to add little bits and make it amazing. And I think what we tried to do is just take everything to the next level, make it even better. A really good, strong, dependable recipe that you can play with in the kitchen, and it will change the way you cook. I mean, salmon with miso glaze and pickled watermelon salsa. I mean, you wouldn't think of watermelon with salmon, would you? But oh my God, it's so good, isn't it? It's so nice.
Really good.
And that's just one example. Okay, so can you see this all right, Emily?
Yeah.
Yeah? So you can see that butter is just starting to melt together now with the golden syrup and the sugar. You need that sugar just to dissolve a little bit before we add the dry ingredients because it will start to sort of drink it all up, and then we'll add that bicarb as well. I'm going to add that to the flour and stir it round. So I'm using the shallow 4.5 litre cast aluminium masterclass pan. You know I use this one all the time because it's got a big surface area. It's not too deep. I can just use it for everything. Absolutely love it. Right, plain flour, oats and bicarb. In we go. turn the heat off, and let's just start to mix all that together. Okay, we're not cooking this out, we've turned the heat off. And what the flour does is it just kind of absorbs and binds it all together and takes it from a flapjack to a hobnob style biscuit. An oatie is what some of them call them in the supermarkets, aren't they? Imagine you add flour to your flapjack, don't you?
I was just about to say it.
Stealing all your questions and things today, aren't I? Okay, so if I pop this onto here, you can kind of see it just needs a few minutes to cool down before we shape it. And I'm going to shape it with an ice cream scoop. Right, while my hobnobs are cooling down, ready to portion up, I'm going to show you how to make this delicious savoury baklava.
This is how you cook my delicious savoury baklava. First thing you need to do, chop your spring onions and your California prunes. Then add in your mixed nuts and pumpkin seeds, followed by feta and grated halloumi cheese. Mix it all together, add in some cumin seeds, add a little harissa and a squeeze of lemon juice. That'll bring it all together. Stir the mixture. Now it's time to build it up. Butter your tin, then add some layers of phyllo pastry. Then add a third of your filling, squeeze of honey, repeat the process. Make sure you brush each layer of phyllo pastry with melted butter. That way it'll crisp up delicious. Now for the final topping. Phyllo pastry, melted butter, and then give it a really good brush. Top with sesame seeds, add a few sprinkles of chili flakes, and then cut it into a diamond. Bake it in the oven until it's golden and crispy, then finish with a drizzle of honey. It makes all the difference.
That savoury baklava is absolutely delicious. One of my favourite recipes in the book, especially when you drizzle the honey on the top when it comes out of the oven. It absolutely makes it. Now, back to hobnobs. Hot water. So take your ice cream scoop, soak it in hot water, and then all you need to do is just simply, now it's a bit cooler, is just shape and take a portion, and then literally that's it. Pop them on a tray, and we're going to let them firm up. I'm going to leave these overnight because I think they'll be even better. And the reason for doing this is that if the portion of dough completely cools and is really cold, it takes longer to melt in the oven as it's baking, which means it doesn't spread too quickly, all right? So it's definitely worth doing. Or you can freeze them like this and you can cook them from frozen. Just knock the temperature that I've put down of the oven by 10 degrees and cook them for about 5 or 6 more minutes, and that will counter the fact that they're frozen. Okay? So once you have portioned them all up, pop them in the fridge or the freezer, and they're ready to bake tomorrow. Right, my hobnobs have sat in the fridge overnight. They've firmed up and they are ready for the oven. Right, my hobnobs are baked and cooled. It's very important that you let them completely cool down before you coat them in chocolate because they will just fall apart. They need that time to firm up. Now I've just melted my chocolate. I use induction and cast aluminium, and as a consequence to be using both of those, it means I can just melt my chocolate really gently, straight in a pan on the heat, number 1 or number 2 setting on the hob, and just leave it to slowly melt. Now, the best way to do this, what you'll notice in the book, is I've done half dark chocolate, half none, and that is for one reason only. It means you can hold it and eat the chocolate without getting in a mess, okay? So we just take the chocolate and just run it over half. Put more on than you need, because what you can do is then just let it drip. Give it a waggle like that. Gets rid of the excess. And now you've got the perfect chocolate to biscuit ratio. Pop it onto a baking tray and then just repeat the process. They're very famous, these biscuits, aren't they, Emily? Yeah. Developed these for the Westmoreland group who do T-Bay and Gloucester services. And I tell you what, I have seen some biscuits like this sell over the years.
Yep.
It always makes me chuckle when I see them. because when I first presented it to them, they were like, oh, we can't do that. That'll never work. And they did it, and oh my goodness, they have sold thousands and thousands of these biscuits. But it's nice to see. It's also nice to know I was right. There we go, pop that on there, and same again. Just keep coating these. Now, I don't put these in the fridge, because if you put melted chocolate in the fridge, it goes that kind of cloudy, matte colour, doesn't it? And it gets, is it a bloom they call it on chocolate?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I think they call it a bloom, where it goes kind of white. So leave them out as long as you can, just at room temperature, and just let them set gently if you can. I'll be very surprised if you manage to do that. But hey, if you're going to leave them and you want them to all look lovely and shiny, that's what you got to do, okay? So just dip them all. That is how you make my homemade chocolate hobnobs. There you go, Emily. Get your laughing gear around that. Carlos, you want one of these? There's going to be some good noises coming from behind the camera. My kids are going to be so happy when they get home tonight and see that these have been made. There you go, Carlos. As tested. Thank you very much for watching this week's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've either got your book already. If you have, make these. They're delicious.